The most dangerous sound in prehistory may not have been a roar. It may have been rain. Not because it could kill one person, because it could stop the whole group. The hunt is already running late. Bellies are empty. Tomorrow depends on the tracks still pressed into the ground. Then the sky opens. Hoof prints soften into mud. A trail that made perfect sense an hour ago simply disappears. Bare feet slip on wet stone. A twisted ankle is no longer an injury. It is a sentence. The river begins to rise. The air turns cold. And inside the shelter, the fire starts to fade. That was the real emergency. For us, rain means slowing down. A warm drink. A blanket. A quieter evening. For ancient humans, the same sound could shrink the world to a few square meters of dry ground. Wet skin sheds heat. Damp wood resists flame. Floodwater reaches places that felt safe before sunrise. Even shelter offered no guarantees. Humans were not the only ones looking for somewhere dry. Predators and prey could be driven toward the same pockets of stone, so comfort could wait. Fire could not. Fire was not decoration. It was warmth, cooked food, light, protection, and perhaps the closest thing a small band had to a heartbeat. People had controlled fire for hundreds of thousands of years, but keeping it alive was often easier than making a new one. A coal might be carried for days, protected in tinder fungus or wrapped so it could breathe without dying. Thousands of years later, Otzi the Iceman still carried a fire kit through the Alps. That tells you how seriously people treated a single ember. Picture the cave. Smoke crawling beneath the stone ceiling. One person says almost nothing. Their whole day may be this, feeding tiny pieces of dry wood into the red center. Too much, and precious fuel disappears. Too little, and everyone feels the cold. Once the fire survives, the weather creates something unexpected. Time. The hunt is paused. The landscape is closed. The cave becomes a workshop. Stone taps against stone. A cracked point is reshaped. Damp hides are scraped clean. Bone becomes a needle fine enough to pass through skin. Fibers twist between wet fingers. Small movements. Large consequences. At Blombo's cave, people were carefully processing ochre around 100,000 years ago, grinding pigment and mixing it inside shells. At Aber du Maras, Neanderthals left behind a tiny fragment of twisted fiber. Easy to miss. Hard to overestimate. Because string is quiet genius. A spear catches the eye. String built the world around it. Without it, blades loosen, shelters sag, bundles fall apart, and little can be carried very far. The work reached beyond tools. At Sabudu Cave, archaeologists found layers of grasses and sedges arranged as bedding, mixed with insect-repelling plants. Old bedding was burned and replaced. That is housekeeping in the Stone Age. Someone looked at a cold shelter and decided it could become a better place to wake up. Farther inside, where daylight never reached, another kind of work appears. People carried fire into darkness and left animals on stone. At Chauvet, Lascaux, Altamira, Sulawesi, and elsewhere. We cannot say rain inspired those images, but long stretches of waiting may have given hands and minds room to do more than prepare for tomorrow. Around the same fire, children watched. An elder repeated the same warning again. Which valley floods first? Which plants return after heavy rain? Which track belongs to a wounded animal? The fifth time a child hears it, they finally remember. That is memory moving from one mind to another. Stories likely traveled the same way. When the rain finally stopped, the world had changed again. Fresh tracks marked the mud. Water gathered in hollows. Mushrooms pushed through the soil. Tubers loosened. Insects surfaced. In warmer places, termites swarmed after storms, turning bad weather into opportunity for anyone who knew when to look. Rain had taken away the hunt. Then it handed back a different map. So what did ancient humans do when it rained all day? They guarded fire. They repaired the future. They sharpened tools for hunts that had not happened yet, stitched clothing before the cold returned, twisted fibers into cord, turned shelters into homes, and passed knowledge across a fire that refused to go out. When the weather closed the world, they built another one beside the flames. And when the sky finally cleared, they stepped back into it better prepared than when the rain began.